Hi, everyone. This is Marilyn Bradford, and I would like to welcome you to my Left Turn podcast. What is your left turn? Writing a blog, parenting in a different way, letting go of the old because you are aware of something greater. Left turns are choices we can all make. It's about a willingness to step into the unknown in any area of your life, to trust yourself, to risk creating or trying something new. It's about letting your true uniqueness shine. The greatest people who have lived, artists, statesmen, writers, explorers, musicians, have all been people willing to turn left. What capacities do you have that you have not acknowledged? What would your life and the world be like if you were willing to turn left? Welcome, everyone. I'm Marilyn Bradford, and I'm so glad you're joining me for this edition of Left Turn. I have the amazing Megan Hill as my guest today, and it's rather hard to describe her. She does marketing, she does events, she does dazzles. She's just basically creation walking. So I think that's a wonderful space to be, Megan, and I think that's a good description of you.
That's the best introduction I've ever had. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You know, I was walking through the airport one time and just sort of doing circles, waiting to board. And this man came up to me and he said, I just have to tell you, I do a lot of people watching, and you're the one person in the airport that I don't actually know how to define. Like, he didn't say define, but like put you in a box. I didn't know how to categorize you. I was like, thank you.
Absolutely. And
Absolutely.
that's an indication of left turn to begin with.
Totally.
Because people like to put other people in boxes and solidify them and all that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you keep turning left, they're like, wait a minute, you weren't supposed to go that way.
Yep.
Where are you going? Why'd you change?
Yep. Yes. So what are some of the bigger left turns or smaller left turns you've done? Because sometimes I'm really, oh, that was a left turn, and it, wasn't like a huge thing, but it just made me aware of, I am willing to choose something different.
I've had, sometimes I think you don't know it's a left turn until after you've taken the, leap off the cliff.
Yes, exactly.
And, one of my examples recently is I have a new puppy. And Tristan, my son, has been asking for a dog for like his entire life. And I had 8 billion reasons why that would never work. And we would always go visit puppies and, entertain the idea. And it was just like, the thought of it was overwhelming. I just, all sorts of stuff. And so one day we went, as he does, he always randomly will ask me to go like visit some puppies or go to a pet store or do something. And about a year ago, I had said, hey, I get you really would like a dog. How about we try asking for whatever dog would like to come to be your dog, for it to show up and for it to be easy, because I am really not having an easy time with like finding a breeder and looking for the right, like looking for the most perfect dog ever or whatever. When you get into like that choice based on some linear way of having something, right?
Yes.
So we walk into this pet store and this dog is just like the sweetest thing. And the moment I picked her up, I was like, oh no. So I left just like, no way, not happening. Get home and I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. And yet when I ask, it's a big yes. So, called, bought the dog, brought the dog home. I hadn't planned on her. I didn't have anything ready. I've never owned a dog. I've never taken care. I've taken care of a couple of dogs, but it's like, I don't know how to do dog. And so I've had her for like 6 months now. And it's so interesting because I just like jumped in, and there's no way I don't even think I could have prepared for it, but everyone thought I was crazy for just literally one day getting a dog. especially with my schedule and everything. And so I am crazy, and she's contributing to my life in a really different way. And so it is a total left turn for me, because it's not showing up the way that I thought it would.
Right.
It doesn't match anyone else's things that you should do. How I'm learning to integrate her into our life is based on similarly to how I chose her, like kind of like just keep going, just keep leaping. And she enjoys it. And so that's just like one example of choosing, and for the first 2 weeks, to be honest, I was like, I think I should take her back. Like, I don't think I'm cut out for this. And now it's getting easier, and I can't imagine my life without her. But it doesn't make any sense. So,
well, one thing I noticed, and this is something that I hadn't really had someone, or I hadn't noticed someone doing before, is that your way you approached it was a left turn, not just getting the dog, but will a dog show up that's a good match for us and it will be easy? All of that is not a normal way to go about something.
Right.
You're supposed to do your research and check out this and do it all up here in your head, and you didn't. You asked a question and you just
I have to credit Susie Godsey for that, because she does talk to the animals and conscious horse, conscious rider. And I had a conversation with her, and I was like head tripping over the type of dog, like I don't want a high energy one. I wanted this one, and I don't want this, and I don't want that. And she's like, you really can't go into the breed. You have to go into the being, ask for the being of the animal that will actually show up and be a contribution. Now, guess what? She fucking barks. And it's like the number one thing on my list that I absolutely did not desire to have. She's extremely high energy, but she's teaching me about how to be more in my power, I guess you could say. You know what I mean? Like, she's teaching me how to lead her. And for me, that's contributing to my whole life.
You mean you're learning from a dog?
Yes, amazing. Just like I learned from having a kid, it's like, and everything else, it's sometimes things aren't necessarily easy, and they can be such a contribution in getting you to where you want to go that you don't even know that you want to go.
Yes, but forward, not staying the same.
No, sometimes it feels like going backwards, but you're not. Just got to keep going.
Yes, I've had that with my cats. Sometimes it's like I'm going backwards.
Yes.
But no, as long as you're choosing and going forward and asking questions, that's amazing.
Yep. Yeah, so that's the latest one. But I think I actually, I remember when you first told me about this podcast, Marilyn read me the description and she said, "Do you think this is good?" And I was just sobbing because it was such a validation of the way that I have lived my life, and oftentimes have been made very wrong for that. I'm not choosing according to what people think that I should. I often choose things that no one else would, or it appears to be, completely crazy to people, or like all sorts of things that don't match the way that you quote should do it. And for whatever reason, I've just sort of always done that. And sometimes I fuck up, and sometimes I, choose greatness. And I always know, like you said, as long as you keep moving forward, there isn't anything that you can't change.
Right.
You can.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, what did you do when people made you wrong? Because that's something that I've been asked by other people.
Oh, well, I've done my best to just, there were moments where it felt like I would be destroyed by it, to be honest. But it's taken me like getting really clear on knowing who I am, who I be, and knowing that, and not really giving a shit what anybody else thinks about me. Because what I've noticed is that if you create your whole life based on whether or not people like you,
Yeah.
and if you have a positive, if you're popular and you have a positive image, and you have like a big fan club or something, if you choose something that goes against the grain, all of those people are gone, most of
Right.
them. You have
Right.
who has your back when they're still there if you make a left turn that is really, whatever. So for me, I've had to just really kind of get clear on, okay, it's my life. At the end of the day, it's my life. And if I'm not choosing what's true for me, then I'm living someone else's life. And that at the end of the day isn't very much fun.
No, it isn't at all.
And then people's points of views of you start becoming irrelevant. I've done my, Gary Douglas and Access Consciousness, they talk about be willing to receive judgment. If you're willing to receive judgment, you make more money. If you aren't willing to receive judgment, you like lose money or something. I forget how it actually goes. And that is sometimes really hard because that judgment can be so intense. And I just know that if you're strong enough to keep going, then there isn't anything that can, stop you or kill you. And at the end of the day, can you ever really be stopped?
Yeah. Not you.
Yeah. And it's like, I love Gary Douglas. I'd be like, well, did you die?
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I didn't die. So here we go.
With all sorts of catastrophes and trauma dramas and problems and all of that kind of stuff. Yes, I think that's a great question. Did you actually die?
Did you die?
Yeah, no, that's good. So you mentioned in passing money. Have you done any left turns? Have noticed any left turns with money?
Oh, totally. Money is a great way to play with left turns. I find it really fun. I grew up in the Midwest, and I grew up with parents that are very financially, they would say sane, meaning, I was raised from this perspective of never have debt. I was never allowed a credit card. If I had a credit card, they made sure it was paid off, so I didn't create my own personal debt. Like cash is king. Like this very kind of like fiscally conservative, yet they had and created money. So I kind of thought they knew more than me about money. Most of my life was my point of view. So as I started creating, and I always was great at creating money as a kid. I started working at 14. I just always had money. I had cash. Money was always easy for me. But as I started playing with the Access tools and doing things like the How to Become Money workbook and Right Riches for You and some of the other money things, I did notice that there was a plateau in which whatever my old reality with money was, based on however I'd created that, this is like a safe place with money. In order for me to go beyond that, I had to actually do that left turn, like leap in a way.
Yes.
And the first time I ever did that is I actually bought a piece of jewelry at the Antique Guild, which is an antique shop that Gary and Dane have, that you can, sometimes they have shows at different events and you can buy stuff online. If you want to go get some gorgeous stuff, go check it out. But there was this ring, or maybe it was a pair of earrings. Earrings. It was a pair of earrings, and they were more expensive than even my wedding ring at the time. Like it was like the most expensive piece of jewelry I'd ever considered purchasing, and instantaneously was like, oh no, I couldn't spend that. Not for me, not on that. That money should go somewhere else. And I was just like, fuck it, and bought it. And that leap with money allowed more money to show up. And so I've done that several times where I will, whether it's something like jewelry, where it's truly for myself, like for me, actually spending money on me instead of, taking care of rent and like not really that fun thing. I did it with my first ever business class trip. I paid for it. And that was just like, in the moment, you're like, this is so crazy. I cannot believe I'm doing this. And then I did it. And I've never had a money problem show up when I'm choosing money from that space. Okay, let's go. Because I'm asking for money to show up now and in the future, but I'm also asking for that. If I would like, say I'm making $10,000 a month, I'm asking them to make $20,000 a month. I'm asking them to make $30,000 a month. I'm continuously stretching how much money I can generate and create. But in order to be that, I've noticed for me personally, I have to start living like I have that money, not spending it before I have it, but like if I would like to like live from that freedom freedom and choice that money can be, I can't like continuously like hold on to it. I have to kind of keep leaping. And for me, it's things like, I don't know, elegant, wonderful things that I find really fun and joyful. So I don't know if that makes sense, but it's
It
like,
makes, well, it's non-linear, which is the
okay,
left turn. Absolutely. You're
yeah,
not like counting every little piece of money and
yeah,
budgeting and this and that, but you're not cutting off your awareness
yeah,
either.
yeah. And I'm not like saving and planning for it. That never works for me either. I'm actually, I would say I'm really bad at math. Like really can't add things very well. But when it comes to money, I have this weird way of like perceiving how it can show up with ease. So the other thing is if you don't focus, for me, if I don't focus on it, not from unaware, a lot of people do this thing of like, well, I'm just not going to look at it because if I don't look at it, everything will be fine. It's like I'm totally aware of it. And what choice can I make that will generate more for the future? And for me, one other element is my body. So if it's a choice with money that will actually contribute more to my body loves money. My body loves having the reality that money can give you, meaning flying in business class, having wonderful clothes and jewelry and all sorts of things. And so in some crazy way for me, if I invest in my body has a weird way of tugging more money in. So I'm sure your body doesn't do that at all.
Oh, no, never,
I'm sure it's
never.
just me.
It's just you, Megan.
Yeah.
No, it is really interesting. And I find myself, oops, I'm in exchange rate and linearity. All right, Pocket Pod that, I'm going to get out of that. And now what's possible? And what can I be aware of financially? And what financial reality can I create that's beyond this reality?
That's really cool. And I think with people with tools and questions with access, when you start ask and you shall receive is a universal law.
Yes.
And if you ask for something like, what would it take to fly business class one day or something like that, and you don't ever choose it, that's where you're stopping the miraculousness that the universe has for you.
Yes.
It's like you have to be willing to take that left turn, those choices, and make the choice towards it. Otherwise, you're asking, but you're in neutral.
Oh, that's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and also that things come and go. I mean, recently I've been eating out a lot at nice restaurants.
Yes, it's delicious, and it's way better when someone else cooks for you.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, I had this sort of spell of maybe I shouldn't do that, or I should plan only 1 or 2 a week. And I went, you know what? That's not asking questions, and that's not following the energy. And I'm doing this now, and I'm very aware that in a day, a week, 2 months, I may go, okay, I'm done with that. That was for a certain time, for a certain whatever. I don't even need to know what.
And who does it belong to?
Yes.
I mean, every time I go out to eat these days, I like look at the receipt and I'm like, oh my God, the prices have gone up so much. And then I'm like, okay, Pocket Pod. Oh well.
Who does that belong to?
Yeah, who does that belong to?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I also notice it with age because I'm in my 70s and I'm like, oh, I should be, my retirement account. I'm like, seriously?
Do you know how many people, I don't know if it's just because of growing up in the Midwest, but like my grandmother she always thought she was poor because she grew up, you know, kind of like lower, I don't even like a working class thing.
Mhm.
She died and she had like 250,000, $300,000 in the bank account. But she was so worried about money all the time. I'm like, she never got to enjoy the money that
Right.
she actually created.
Yes.
And I notice people do that all the time. It's like you save, 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 save so that you can be taken care of one day. But what if you actually started taking care of you and your body today
Yes. What
and
would that
planned for
create?
the future?
Yes. What would
Yeah.
that create?
What would
Absolutely.
that create?
You know, my family was similar in that, I mean, they both grew up poor, grew up in the Depression and started off poor. I mean, my father was like a assistant professor or something. But eventually they amassed a lot of money because they put money in the stock market in the 50s. It
Yeah.
just grew,
Right.
it grew.
Yep.
So they'd spend like $10,000 on something. And then mother would be like, well, spinach is 20% less if we go to this grocery store.
Yeah.
Like, seriously? It's just crazy. And I also get that being really aware of your beliefs about money and where you've adopted the beliefs of this reality about money keep you from having that left turn.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Absolutely. And keep you from choosing what is actually your reality. Like
yes.
the grocery store spinach thing is a great example. Like I have, I can, even though I keep choosing my reality, these other things will run through my world a lot. So where I live, like Walmart is the cheapest. You can get everything the cheapest at Walmart.
Uh-huh.
I hate Walmart. Like I don't, if I go in there, I want to run out. And if I go to like say Target or Whole Foods or whatever, everything's more expensive, but I love being there. If it takes me an hour to go grocery shopping or something, it's joyful and I'm testing products and you know what I mean? It's like this
Yes.
wonderful experience. And so I've just been starting to be like, okay, well then I'm paying for a great experience because I don't like going to Walmart. Sorry,
No, I
Walmart.
don't either.
But that's where it's like, we're talking a lot about money, but if you look kind of beyond it and you expand it to different things, it's like if it's your life, what are you choosing? Is every moment the greatest possible moment that it could be? If not, what are you doing? If you're always saving money and saving time and saving, something, trying to be safe and secure and waiting for, some fabulous day to come. What if today's that fabulous day for you? And
It
what would
is
you do?
if you choose it.
Yeah.
And this whole thing about operating from a different energy, it's so true. I mean, yesterday, here's a different example with not talking about money, but yesterday I was playing mahjong with four of my friends who are all elder. I'm not going to say elderly, but retired women.
Yes.
And one of them was so negative. She's like, well, nothing good happens to me, and I might as well just go home. I actually looked at her and I said, you need a reset. And she did. But it was so interesting because I was just so happy and expanded. Guess who kept winning and guess who never won?
Oh my God.
It was-
Exactly.
yeah. I didn't care that much. I mean, I would like to win, but I was like, well, what's possible with this hand? Should I play this card or that card, tile or discard it? What about this? And I'm
Yeah.
asking questions and operating from that. And so I think I won 3 or 4 games. I can't remember how many we played, but it was
That
just being the energy.
and that describe, when you're in that, and when you're not. And
Yes.
hopefully if you're listening to this, you've at least experienced when you're in that. If not, listen to this or read Marilyn's books and take a few, watch some videos or something, find some tools to use. Because, I don't choose left turns when we're talking about this when I'm not in that space. I know when I'm like, and gonna choose something to like, it can be more destructive, if I'm like, I'm just gonna throw this out and do like that. That's the left turn for me is always very generative. It has a sense of lightness to it.
Yes.
Afterwards, it might have that awkward, like, oh my God, what did I just do? But when I'm choosing it, it's like, and then it kind of continuously has that energy going forward. I just
Yes.
had a total deja vu moment that was so funny. We've been here and we've done this before. I was like, oh my God, anyway.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Megan. And if I had something, I have a glass of water, a toast to left turns.
Yes. Toast to you and doing these podcasts, inspiring people to choose, to choose greater, to choose for possibilities, which is one of the new classes that Gary's creating. Because I think people finally get that they have choice and now what's possible with what you're choosing.
Yes. And you don't have a limited menu.
You don't have a limited menu, but you also have a choice in which menu you're choosing from.
Yes, exactly. And you can create your own menu.
You can definitely create your own menu every single day.
All right. Thank you very much, Megan.
Thank you, Marilyn.
Thank you so much for joining this episode of Left Turn. I wonder what embracing left turns could create in your life. What magical possibilities might show up. Remember, when you choose left turns, you are joining a group of the most creative and brilliant people the world has ever known.